Hello guys, how you doing? It's your boy Mason and welcome once again, of course, to the channel, and thank you for joining me. Today I just thought I'll come here and with a totally different subject, topic and content. And I haven't actually spoken about this for, I don't think I've ever actually talking about this before at all. So I just thought, you know what, since we are approaching new year, we need to come up with new different things and new different subject, topic and content. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about politics, and I'm talking about the UK politics. And on the 12th of December 2019, the UK is going to go and vote. They're going to go to the ballot papers and they're going to vote for the general elections, and they're going to vote for whom they want them to be their representative, who is going to be their leader, and who is going to deal with this looming Brexit thing, and who's going to deal with all the social problems, social issues that most of UK's people, inhabitants, are suffering from day in, day out. So you know what, I just thought, since I live in the UK, and I'm just going to give my little opinion about the UK politics, about economics, social status, my own little observation, and of course I'm going to put my own opinions as well. To be quite honest, what really got me to do this, or to start to do this video, is I wrote a channel. I wrote an article earlier on today on my Facebook wall, and I think you can actually see it. And right now, this is my Facebook wall here. And earlier on today, I wrote this article, and on the face of it, it says trickle down economics, and I put a few hashtags here, hashtag politics, economics, capitalism and socialism. So I'm just going to try to read this article with you, and we're going to expand, and I'm going to try to kind of like discuss with you my thoughts, even though this is my thought as well, but like what I really think about the current situation, political situation here in the UK, and where I think the direction we need to be heading. But I think you're going to get most of the gist of my thoughts, of my train of thoughts from this article, really, because most of it is right in here. But yeah, so let's try to read it together. And yeah, says trickle down economics here, and hashtag politics, hashtag economics, hashtag capitalism, and hashtag socialism. And let's try to read it. I'm just gonna pull it up here. Okay, so says privatization and deregulation are two words often mentioned on the news as regular sound bites, but the general populace often lacks depth and meaning to these two terms. The reason to this is simply because those in charge of governance and those in charge of the media and news reporting do not wish the general public to understand the true meaning behind these two key words. Privatization is the transfer of a business, industry, or a service from public government control and ownership into the private hands of private equity firms, most often owned by unscrupulous, profit-driven individual multi-millionaires and billionaires at the cost of the general public. Deregulation is the removal of restrictions and regulations by the government in a particular industry. In other words, this is a free pass issued by the government to private equity companies to freestyle and hike prices and run services in whatever shape or form they wish to, without any government interference. And this they truly do ruthlessly and shamelessly. You see, I am no economist or business analyst, but logic and reason alone will tell you this is truly extremely bad economics. If a privately run company offering public services in a deregulated industry is left to freestyle and run its business without any regulations or restrictions, who is likely to suffer the most in such circumstances? Yes, you guessed it right. It's always the innocent people, the innocent general populace, who eventually falls victim to such draconian form of economics. Currently, this is the situation we are at the moment. We are in a right mess. We are at the mercy of capitalism, in a capitalist society run by a capitalist government with capitalist policies. Several vital public services are being run by private equity firms without any government restrictions and regulations. Even more worryingly, the quality and efficiency of service is increasingly being compromised for the sake of profit maximization by these ruthless and scrupulous private firms at the expense of the innocent general public. And the culprits here are the government, privatization and deregulation. Unless ownership and control of major vital public services is handed back into the hands of the public and the government, the richer will always get richer at the expense of the poor getting poorer. Equally guilty too is another economic theorem currently deployed by the government: trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics is an economic proposition that income taxes imposed on large businesses and wealthy multimillionaires and billionaires should be reduced as a means to stimulate business investment in a short term to benefit society at large in a long term. What a load of crap. Honestly, how true and realistic is this crap? What fictional parallel universe do these people actually live in? How many ordinary people have actually benefited from this so-called trickle-down economics theory? As ever, as it always had been and is always going to be, a society governed by a government whose policies are in favor of privatization, deregulation and trickle-down economics, the rich will always get richer and the poor will always get poorer. In such a dysfunctional and disproportionate society, only the few will benefit more at the expense of the many. It's time for a change. So what's the answer then? I hear you asking. I say, as we approach a new decade and a new era in 2020, let us revert back to the old ways of governance and living. Evidently, capitalism hasn't worked for us, so let us now change our philosophy of governance and bring back socialism, which advocates a sense of community and oneness echoed by brotherly love. Socialism advocates a sense of community through a political system and philosophy of a community governed and controlled by the people. As we now enter a new decade in 2020, let us bid farewell to privatization, deregulation, trickle-down economics, and capitalism. These obviously haven't benefited the many, but only served the very few elite. Let us hand over power from the establishment and back to the people. Only a fool can repeat the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we are talking about today. Just so hold on 2 seconds. I want to pull up a few pictures here. So that what I'm talking about creates meaning. So yeah, that was the article. Yes, that's better. These two gentlemen that you're seeing here, yeah, Boris Johnson and of course Jeremy Corbyn, they both represent two different parties. And Jeremy Corbyn, of course, represent the Labour Party, and Boris Johnson represent the Tories or the Conservatives, who have been in power in the UK for the past 9 years. And if you understand, or if you've been following UK politics, the first Prime Minister was actually early on was David Cameron, after he announced the Brexit referendum, and people voted for Brexit. Then he resigned after that referendum. Then Theresa May took over, and when Theresa May failed to fulfill the Brexit, or come up with a proper deal or proper agreement with Europe or with Brussels, again she resigned. And now we are with this fella, Boris Johnson. So Boris Johnson, he hasn't been elected. Nobody elected him to be the Prime Minister, but he just got in power because Theresa May resigned. And so he is in power at the moment, and he called for the general elections for December the 12th, because he couldn't get his withdrawal agreement being agreed by Parliament, and because he did not get a majority vote who supported his withdrawal agreement, so he called for the general elections. So that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. So the UK are entering uncharted territories, because we do not know what's going to happen in future. And it's a really two contrasting choices that we faced here. We faced with in Jeremy Corbyn, a man of the people, a man who wants to bring old values back, a man who wants to bring more power to the people, a man who wants to bring socialist ideas and philosophies and policies, a man who wants to bring capitalism down, a man who wants to stop public services being run by private equity companies whose sole objective is to maximize their profits. And we've got on the other side, we've got Boris Johnson, who wants to keep the status quo running. He wants to keep everything stay the way it is. He wants the establishment to be in power. He wants to carry on to make UK live in a capitalist society or capitalist system, where companies will get big multinational companies will actually get will tax less, and some of them don't even get taxed at all. As you all know, I mean, most of people that are of the working age who actually go to work and stuff, when you go to work in the UK, you pay your what's called national insurance and your income tax and all that, and normally it's a proportionate to your earnings. But most of these big multinational companies, they get paid they pay their taxes, which are very, very disproportionate to their earnings. I can't remember his name actually, but the guy who owns Amazon, I think last year or this year, he actually got a profit of £10 million or £10 billion or something like that. And of that, he only paid about 2% of taxes. So this is the disproportionate, dysfunctional system that we have at the moment in the UK. So that's why it's really, really paramount, and it's very, very imperative for every single person who is registered to vote to go and vote on the 12th of December. Because as we get into the new decade, as we get into 2020, who knows what we are entering into. And of course, the Tories, the Conservative, they're going to try every trick they can to hold on to power. And it's very, very likely that we might even get a hung parliament with most of these parties being represented in government. But if every single ethnic minority, every single young person, every single have-nots, every single working class people go and cast their vote on the 12th of December, we can see the old way or the right way being re-established. We can see an honest man who will be a prime minister delivering honest policies and honest form of governance. So I just thought, ladies and gentlemen, I'll just come here. This is my first of my videos or political videos, okay, and my commentaries on the UK politics. And as time goes on, in the forthcoming days, I'm going to be giving you all my thoughts and my opinions, what I really think, and all the things that are hitting the headlines, and I'm going to be bringing to you. Yeah, so we just it's going to be very interesting times indeed. It's every single person's birthright, yeah, to be represented by their government, and it's every single person's divine right or natural right to have their views and their opinions being represented and being honored by the government. Because a lot of people, the other thing is, a lot of people do is they actually think that the government is a different kind of entity. It's a different kind of species. Like politicians are different kind of people that are so far removed from us. They're very elite. They are very smart. They know better than us and all those things. But you see, this is a wrong assumption, and this is a wrong perception, because the government really is the people. We put people who represent our will, people who represent our objectives, people who represent our needs and the desires. These are the people who we put in place. It's not the other way around. These are the people who work for us, and they are placed there by the people. So if the people who are representing you aren't following your mandate, aren't following the will of the people, then in that case the government has failed. So it's going to be very interesting ahead. I mean, today is Friday, the 6th of December 2019, and in 6 days time it's going to be the 12th of December, and we're going to find out where the UK people have decided, how they decided to get into a new decade, a new era of 2020. Are we going to get into 2020 still using the capitalist system, still using the same philosophies that have failed us for the past 9 years, the same form of governance that have brought us austerity, that have brought us homelessness, food banks, that have brought us all form of disproportionate way of living? Or are we going to try different things, a different way where we can try to bring new changes, a new way of thinking, new way of governance, where people are valued? So this is what the UK is staring at the moment. And of course, we're going to be talking about Brexit as well. We've got this looming thing, Brexit, and which has been ongoing for quite a long time. And the other thing is, a lot of people who have voted Brexit, they've been duped by Boris Johnson into thinking if he wins these elections, he's going to go to Brussels on January the 31st, and he's going to give them an agreement, and Brussels is going to agree this agreement, and the following day or the next 3 months, he's going to come off of Europe. But I'm afraid it does not work that way. International agreements take longer than only 1 year. Some of them, they take more than 5 years. So we are talking about Brexit maybe in 4 or 5 years time, if Boris Johnson gets his own way, unless he comes back from Europe and saying,
I'm gonna have a Brexit with no deal whatsoever. And if he comes back from Brexit from Brussels with no deal whatsoever, what it means is that he's got a free pass to do what he wants. That means he can privatize any single public service that he wants. That means he can bring new laws, any kind of laws, and there's not going to be protected workers' rights. That means he can pretty much do whatever that he wants. And as a middle class Etonian as he is, God forbid what's gonna happen in the UK. So yeah, this is what we're staring at. And like I said, I'm gonna be bringing new commentaries, and I'm gonna be bringing you my thoughts and opinions, anything that hits the headlines. And for the next 6 days, I'll give you my commentary on the UK politics on the way to a new decade in 2020. Which way are we going? Are we going Labour with Jeremy Corbyn, or we're going to stick to the Tories with Mr. Boris Johnson? So thank you so much. And so hopefully you have a good day, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. You look after yourself and keep yourself posted. And if you can, please do subscribe and share any of these videos that I do make, because we want to try to share this knowledge, and we want to try to expand and make everybody aware of what's going on. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much. And I'm gonna come back again with another commentary on UK politics.